Hi, Adam. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, Melanie. Thanks for having me.
Of course, I really appreciate it. I know you're super busy, especially on a Thursday night right before a holiday weekend. So thank you again.
No problem. I have plenty of time for you.
So, Adam, you and I have been connected for a little over a year and a half, and you are a trial attorney. And there are lots of different types of attorneys out there. So, what exactly does a trial attorney mean?
A trial attorney, in my world, I'm a civil trial attorney. I don't do criminal cases. I bring cases mostly for people that have been hurt in some way or another. And most of what I do is cases against pharmaceutical companies, medical device companies. I've done a lot of different types of really catastrophic, serious injury type cases that run the gamut, all types: car accidents, truck accidents, medical malpractice. But most of what I do now is the pharmaceutical and medical device type cases. And I always represent the plaintiff. I always represent the person who's been hurt, and I'm always bringing the case on their behalf against the defendant.
Interesting. When did you decide that this is the kind of law that you wanted to pursue?
It's funny, it really kind of chose me. When I got out of law school, nobody wanted to hire me. Nobody had any interest in me. I got a job reviewing documents. It was very boring. So I would hide in the library and read books, and the only books were on how to try a case. So I started reading them, and I said, that looks good. So then I went to a small firm that had a lot of little cases to be handled, and they said, here, go to court and handle these cases. And I got to hang around the courtrooms and watch what people were doing, and figured out that that was really what I was suited for. I had a big mouth, as my grandmother always said. And I figured this looked interesting and it looked challenging and fun. And I just sort of just fell into it.
Interesting. So you've worked against, I would say, a lot of pharmaceutical companies and medical device manufacturers. What have you learned in the process of trying cases against them?
When I first started doing those cases, there was really one thing that jumped out the most to me. I found out that when you pull back the curtain and you go and look at, for example, the emails the people that work there send. And by the way, there's people that want to do good things at these companies. So I'm certainly not looking to impugn everybody. But what I found in the cases I was handling was this: profits and the marketing department in these types of companies really rule. And that really is the focus of everything. It's really about how much money we can make. And oftentimes the patients or the customers' safety, things like that, gets pushed aside because there's a priority on money and the bottom line. And that really opened my eyes to see that a lot of major decisions where there was a fork in the road to go money or go safety, the money fork got taken quite a bit. And that was something that really jumped out at me, and always, it really repeats. It's a cultural thing in that industry that I found, unfortunately.
So you've had numerous jury verdicts in excess of $10 million. You've also argued many appeals, including the New Jersey Supreme Court. So if you had to place a monetary amount on the amount of cases that you've settled during the course of your career, what would that number be?
Because we measure things like that, I guess people are looked at by their results. I would say that the settlements and the verdicts for all the cases I've handled over the years, it's approaching $1 billion.
Wow, that's a lot. That's so impressive. That's amazing.
Well, it's unfortunate that the things that happen to get to those numbers happen, but I work with terrific people, and we've had some good results over the years.
So do you measure success in those dollar amounts, or if you were looking back at your career, would you be measuring it in a different way?
That's a great question. Again, in my business, if someone's thinking about hiring a lawyer who does what I do, one of the first questions anyone's going to ask is, tell me your track record. So the numbers matter in that sense, but I don't really measure my success that way. I care about what we do for people. The thing that I love about what I do, I really feel like what I do is a very noble thing. I represent people who have been catastrophically hurt, whose lives have been turned upside down, who may not be able to earn any money anymore, who can't take care of their families, who are in catastrophic pain all the time. And I can't give them back part of their body. I can't undo what happened. But what we can do is get funds for them to make their lives easier so that they don't have to worry about paying their bills or being able to pay for a doctor. And there's nothing greater than when someone sends me a letter or an email or calls me up. I have clients who send me a Christmas card every year. And I appreciate them probably more than they appreciate me. And they say, thank you. I just want to remind you of what you've done for us. And my son just graduated college. You made that possible. Or, we've just bought our new house. We moved to Florida and now we have comfort. And, those things, that means the world to me because we really have the ability to change lives. And we are able to do it for people who have been harmed by companies that are so massive that it really is David versus Goliath. But when it comes out and we succeed for these people, the gratitude they show us and just seeing them smile and get that part of their life behind them, there's nothing better. And that's what I love about what we do.
What would you say, Adam, is your biggest inspiration that drives you every day to help all these people that you work for?
Partially, and this is a personal issue I have, is fear of failure. I never want to fail. I never want to lose. So that's very important to me. And I think that helps to drive me. But it's what I just talked about. It's the responsibility I feel to the people who put so much trust in me and ask me to essentially take the most serious, most catastrophic situation they've ever faced, that their entire life for them, this is it. They have one shot. And it's that responsibility that I'm given. It's really, it's very humbling. And I love that. I love knowing that we're going to be able to help people and change their lives. And sometimes change society too. I mean, some of our cases have resulted in significant changes. I did a lot of LASIK surgery cases for a while. And those cases changed how LASIK surgeons were evaluating their patients, and the complication rates came way down. And I know that the cases that we were bringing made a big difference, for example. So we changed society, we changed safety, we help people on a wider basis than just our own clients. And that's, you can't feel better about anything than that.
So a lot of times they say that life imitates art, or art imitates life. Is that the right way to say it? Art imitates life. So one of my all-time favorite movies is My Cousin Vinny, which is like a favorite that I know so many people love. Would you say that you've ever been in situations in other parts of the country when you're trying a case where situations come up that you can't believe are happening, that almost feel like you're in a movie when they're happening? Has that ever happened to you?
I've had my Cousin Vinny moments. I have, and I'd like to tip my hat to Joe Pesci, another Jersey boy. I love that movie, so thank you for bringing that out. I've tried cases in Oregon, Missouri, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, all over. And in a few of those situations, especially I remember back a trial in Missouri, I felt a little bit like Joe. I didn't have the circus jacket on, but I definitely felt like it was a different place. But I'll tell you what was great about it. Those jurors hadn't probably seen too many guys like me from New Jersey, and I hadn't been to that part of the country. But after we spent a few days together and the trial lasted 3 weeks, people are people. And, I love jurors. I love what people do on a jury. I love that people are willing to do it because ultimately they size everybody up for who they really are. And they get to know you, and they get to know if you're being straight with them, whether you're BSing them. And in that case, I know that I really developed a rapport with those people, and I remember them, and hopefully that, if someone reminded them of the trial, they'd remember me in a positive way. So just like Vinny did a decent job in that trial of getting to be known by the jury and the judge, I'd like to feel like I did the same thing out in Missouri back in 2015.
Now, I know it's not the same type of, I would say, not jury selection, but it wouldn't be the same type of trial that you're working on as featured in My Cousin Vinny. But do you have a process in place that, your go-to, or what you can explain as far as when you're looking at a jury and you're selecting a jury?
Every case is different and there's different considerations. So putting that aside, I want people who are open-minded, who are caring, who are principled,
Mhm.
and who seem to me like the kinds of people who will listen to the facts and listen to the judge and do their job, because you don't want someone in there with an agenda. And the cases I bring, I feel very, very strongly I'm bringing only the most legitimate cases. I'm very rigorous on what I'll do. I'll only take a case where I'm convinced, yes, there's absolutely been an injustice here and there's absolutely a right to recovery, and this person that I'm representing really is in the right. So I want jurors who are going to listen openly, because if they're going to balance things fairly, I feel like I'm going to be able to get the right result for my client. I'm going to win because the evidence is going to be on my side.
You're so passionate about what you do when you're talking about going to trial and speaking on behalf of your clients. If I was, a young person who is going through law school and trying to determine what kind of law I wanted to go into, what sort of advice would you give to them, given your experience so far with trying cases and, working with these pharmaceutical companies and the medical device manufacturers?
Well, I'm going to give you a broader answer. I'm going to change your question a little, because I
Okay.
think that when people are thinking about what to do with their life, and especially, you're a young person, you don't know what's going to happen, and you don't really know who you're going to be in 5 or 10 years, because we're always growing, especially when you're a little younger and you're just kind of getting out and starting out. So I really think it's important to find what you like and find what you're good at and what your aptitudes are. And try things when you're younger and maybe you don't have as much financial responsibility. Be open to changing careers or changing what you're doing, and try to find what you're really best suited for. Coming back to your question, for someone who's thinking about being a lawyer and what type of a lawyer, it's really the same thing. I mean, law is such a broad thing. Some people want to be in a room and read and write documents, and that's great. Some people want to do what I do, where you're out there and you're in a courtroom and you're talking to people and you're banging heads and you're presenting. Some people are really scientifically driven. They're engineers, they're doctors, they love medicine. And there's all sorts of areas. You could do what I do with injuries, but you could write documents for hospitals and you could represent doctors. And some people love the car business. They're interested in cars. So what do? They do product cases having to do with cars, and they do transactions between car franchises and manufacturers. And, they can specialize in that. So you can really figure out what you're good at and what you love, and you can try to put yourself in the best position to be able to try to get what you want out of it, and you can try to see what you're best suited for. I had no idea what I wanted to do. It literally found me, and I turned out to have fallen into something that I was suited for, and that worked well for me. And that's got to be the hope for anyone, that they just kind of be open to where they fit.
That's great. If somebody was looking to maybe talk to you about a potential case or get a hold of you to have a conversation with you, whether they're, a student graduating or whether they're someone who is looking to be represented, what would the best method of contact for them to be to contact you?
The best way would be just to email me. I'm easily found. I can be Googled. I can be found. We have a good website for our law firm. And just send me an email, and I'll get back to people. They can call. I'm happy to talk to people. And not hard to get a hold of me. I'm around.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Adam. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks, Melanie. I appreciate you having me on. This was really fun.
Of course. Thanks.